start the conversation. Our first guest is Matthieu, who I can't seem to find right now.
Hello.
Here he comes. And I think let's have Piru Faraz Ali, also known as Piru Saein first, and then I can tell you a little bit about both of our wonderful speakers today. So I hope all of you can hear me properly. Faraz, don't itna Faraz ऐसा ना करें. ऐसा ना करें. इतने दूर ना जाएं हमसे. Okay, so my name is Haya. I am a documentary filmmaker and I also teach at a university in Karachi. And I usually work with moving image and with video. So I'm really pleased to actually have two wonderful people who work in photography and who have a very different, very distinct kind of an eye with respect to the image making that they do. Our first guest is, whoa, okay. Matthieu was born in France and he has traveled all over the world for the National Geographic magazine. Matthieu, your work has also appeared in Time magazine, I believe. And Matthieu has been visiting Pakistan since 1999. He calls Pakistan the country of his heart, which I find a really lovely description. And we're going to talk a little bit with Matthieu about his recent work, but also his photographic journey all along. Our second wonderful guest is Piru Faraz Ali. Piru Faraz Ali is commonly known in the Instagram world as Piru Saein, the Piru. Piru Faraz Ali is an adventure traveler and a photographer, and he's focused on showing people, cultures, and landscapes through his camera. His ultimate goal is to promote tourism and a positive image of Pakistan. He's a mountain lover, but also he's running a travel company these days. So thank you so much, both of you.
Thank you.
Is there some halchal?
Somewhat?
Is there a problem?
No, I'd like them to connect to the sound because there's a short video from Piru that I'd like to show. So that's the only.
So should we do that right now?
Yeah, let's just see if it works.
Okay.
Thank you, Shukriya ji.
All right, so we're just figuring out something. I love the negotiations that go into tech issues.
USB-C. Okay, never mind. We'll play loud from the computer. The sound is not going to be possible.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. It's okay.
Do you want to introduce the video that you want to show first?
No, I'll show it at the end.
Okay, perfect. All right. So these issues will be taken care of as they emerge. Matthieu, tell us first of all. Actually, talk to us even before we discuss how you came to Pakistan and when you started to come to Pakistan. Talk a little about how your photographic journey began, because I remember talking to you earlier on and you said that when you were starting on as a photographer, you didn't really have a lot of people around you who were into photography. So talk a little about a younger version of Matthieu and how it was like entering image making.
Well, younger version would have been very doubtful and curious, but very doubtful of the possibility of living as a photographer, specifically in the field that I wanted to be doing photography, which is storytelling, telling stories, real life stories, as opposed to doing commercial work or wedding photography or something that potentially can bring more money, but I thought would be not so fulfilling for myself. So yeah, I was very doubtful, and early on, well, first I studied something completely different. And after 4 years of studying something that I wasn't feeling very comfortable with, I decided to try my luck at photography. And I did a very short degree in 1 year. And after that, I left on a long expedition on foot across Mongolia. As partly sponsored, I wrote a project proposal, and I got funding to go across Mongolia on foot. And then very shortly after that came Pakistan. And I came in 1999 in Pakistan as a voluntary teacher in a small village called Kachura near Skardu in Baltistan. Small kids that when I would say, "Good morning, please open your book," they would say, "Good morning, please open your book." Like they were not getting anything of what I was saying. So like I gave up on that after a couple of months in Kachura, and then I started. People heard that I was an aspiring photographer, and I was with my girlfriend, who was an art director, designer, my wife now, and the Agahan Foundation gave us an opportunity to work on a project there to design a book around Balti culture. So that was 99 to 2000. So we spent 13 months. And that really, we really did our best in order to achieve some level of international standard with that production of that short book brochure. And that gave us, which we produced 100% in Pakistan. We'd go back and forth between Skardu and Islamabad, meeting with printers and talking CMYK, RGB, and we could tell really quickly if they knew what they were doing. And eventually we produced it, and that started a long relationship that lasts to now with, on so many levels with Pakistan. Yeah.
Brilliant, thank you, Matthieu. For us, or Piru, how do you prefer us to call you?
You take this one, if you mind. Oh, yeah, is it on?
All right, it's fine. Disasters happen as
Who said it?
Yeah, can you hear me? Yeah.
Piru, it would be lovely if you also share a little bit about how you came into photography, because obviously, I mean, you come from different cultures. How did you enter
So basically, technically I'm a software developer. I did my computer science, but I always had this thing to, take pictures. I would like borrow my brother's like cyber shot camera, or like seeing, can you hear me? Yeah. So like I would borrow my brother's camera and trying to experiment photos. And then when I got into the university, I didn't have friends in my own department, but I made friends from the media sciences department. So I would notice them, and then the curiosity began. Like I got my hands somehow on the DSLRs from one of my friends, and then I kept practicing. Somehow I got my first camera I saved up, and then it was unstoppable. Especially after when I took my first ever solo trip to the northern Pakistan, and I fell in love with the landscapes. So that's how like it started, the journey began, and like I knew that I love capturing landscapes and people. I want to explore more. So that's how my photography journey began. But how he mentioned that you gotta start with some commercial work.
Mm-hmm.
So I used to do small gigs like corporate events and small events in the town. So that's how it began. And right now I'm just I try to travel to remote places as much as I can. So I'm trying to show people the places not a normal Pakistani or maybe a foreigner would have seen. So that's my goal, to like put Pakistan on the map with my photographs. So yeah.
And so we're talking about discovering photography as a medium for both of you.
Yeah.
Matthieu, talk a little bit about how when you came to Pakistan in 1999 for the first time, you spent like a lot of years up in the mountains, right? You were in Gilgit-Baltistan mainly, and then in your career, like seeing how like it is an illustrious long career. You say that you sort of discovered like this entire southern part of Pakistan much later.
Yes.
Talk a little about what kept you in the mountains for so long, and then what finally brought you to the south, and how was it like?
Kept me in the mountain is still keeping me. I mean, it's the complexity of each valley, culture, language, traditions that is just endless. And I wanted to say also something is that to explain my background also on what I stick to in terms of my stories is trying to break stereotypes. It's a stereotype to say that, but it's really what it is to me, because you have to remember, you don't know, but I was in Pakistan on September 11. I was living in Skardu. I was actually trekking in the mountains of the Karakoram. I didn't know until September 13th when I came back to Gilgit, and I saw all the guests. And so I knew Gilgit and northern areas pre 9/11. I was a young, aspiring photographer, and soon enough I started to get calls suddenly from Time magazine that knew I was living in Pakistan, to try to go in the street of Islamabad and where I was, or in Peshawar or whatever, to photograph the protest. And I did do that a little bit, and then I realized that I wasn't, this was not the reason why I was in Pakistan. Personally, I didn't feel the connection to telling these. I felt they were not deep enough stories, in my sense. I see the value in photographers doing this work, but I felt this is not my goal as a photographer to show that. So yeah, I ended up in northern areas because I'm talking about North Pakistan, but to me, if you go into Afghanistan, into the Wakhan corridor, in the Pamir Mountains, or into Tajikistan or Western China, this is all one family. This is all one ethnic, that overlaps into each other, like liquids, and so I started to spend time in Hunza. I went into Gojal, which is in Upper Hunza, towards the border with China. I learned to speak Wahi because I was spending a lot of time with Wahi people, and that got me into what is going on the other side of the border. So I ended up in Afghanistan working on project there for 10 years on and off, still coming to Pakistan. But yeah, all this is interconnected to me. There's not, people talk about borders, even between, and I've worked a lot in India as well. To me, this is all one big thing. I don't know exactly, well, I guess I remember, I talked to a friend who told me about volcanoes in Balochistan, and that's enough to drive me nuts. I was like, what did you just say? Volcanoes in Balochistan? You must be mistaken. No, it's got to be somewhere else. Maybe it's in Iran, Balochistan. Like, no, in Pakistan, Balochistan, there are volcanoes. I was like, wow, okay. And I ended up suggesting a story for National Geographic on the Hinglaj, the Hindu pilgrimage to Chandragupta. These mud volcanoes are in Balochistan. I have a lot of pictures, but that's not what the topic today. But so yeah, that got me into, wow, okay, oh my God, I just it's another kind of worm right here. Balochistan, Sindh is full of stories. Oh my God, I'm never getting rid of Pakistan. I'm gonna be buried here. I mean, it's just too complex that I'm stuck in it. It's a rabbit hole for me, the diversity of Pakistan as in terms of storytelling. And I wish that there was more, and Piru might agree, that there was more push towards this type of photography, or even you look at lots of the art schools in Pakistan don't offer really storytelling as an option. It's very commercial oriented, and I hope in the future to be able to help to develop that with people here, to have a place to that pushes towards storytelling.
Definitely, I think
because of the amount of stories here, and they should be done locally as well as from me with an outside perspective.
Right. And talking about people telling their own stories and telling their stories locally, Piru, can you talk a little bit about how you met Matthieu? I mean, we're soon going to embark on the Lahooti journey, but I wanted to get the logistics out of the way for sure. Piru, can you talk a little bit about how you connected with Matthieu, and why do you think is it important to have you with Matthieu when you go out to photograph?
So, before the project he mentioned about Hinglaj in Balochistan, I was in a one-way relationship with Matthieu. I used to follow him since 2015 and 2016. I used to admire his work, and I was like, always in my head, he was my, he's my ustad. So somehow, when you aspire to be like someone, I wanted to be like him, because I really loved his work, the way he takes photos of people and the culture. So somehow I got, there was my senior in my university, he reached out to me, Matthieu Paley wants to do some work in southern Pakistan, so can I link you with him? I was like, what? Is this really happening? So that's how, through that friend, we got connected, and then he wanted to discuss with me about the Hinglaj area and the mud volcanoes. So that was the first time I worked with him, and after that, he's been coming every year, so that's how, we're now in a relationship.
So it's finally a two-way relationship.
It's complicated to work in some parts of Pakistan. Balochistan is in English, is in Balochistan, NOCs and whatnots. I got no clue how to do that. I don't, I need people. I always need people. to come and guide me by the hand, especially new areas that I don't know. Not maybe if I go to Hunza or Gojal because I know people there, but so I depend. It's crucial for me to find the right people that are willing to open, me doors like that.
Right.
Yeah.
And what is it that you find more complicated in these parts of Pakistan, for instance?
Taking good pictures is complicated. That's.
How-
Oh, you mean in the field or?
No, you can't say that taking pictures in Gojal is any easier, right? So what makes it more complicated when you talk about Sindh and Balochistan to work here?
It can be more complicated for me. In Gojal, I speak Wahi. I'm home. I can enter into any room and say, greet my sister and kiss her on the hand like they do in the Wahan. And, I'm like, this is very easy. I'll tell you a story. I was on an assignment on happiness for National Geographic, and they sent me in the US, in Colorado, in a place called Boulder, Colorado. And I couldn't take any pictures.
Really?
I was frozen. I didn't know what I could and could not do. Here, I know over there, if I start taking pictures of kids, God knows what I'm going to get arrested or something. Like, it was a lot going on in my mind. It's a lot of made-up stories, just like when I initially arrived in Pakistan, where I don't know am I going to get in trouble if I do that or not? There's so many unwritten rules that you learn, and now I'm completely tuned to this place. And I know if I can push the situation, if I should hold back, if I should ask, if there's an understanding that it's okay, all this stuff, I perceive it. So yeah, it's just lots of.
And we're definitely going to talk in detail about the unwritten rules a little later on. Piru, why don't you explain to us what this Lahooti journey is about? How long is it? Where does it begin from?
Yeah.
And what year were you people together while you were capturing photographs of the journey? Give us like the entire chunk of details about it.
So, growing up, I'm from interior Sindh. So, growing up,
Where in Sindh are you?
I'm from Saein Sharif. My village is near Saein Sharif. It's called Piru. So growing up, I would always hear about, the word Lahooti, and then as I grew up, I found out that my family has been doing this work since God knows how long. My grandfather has been doing it. Like they go in groups. So as I grew up, I found out about Lahooti work that we don't have any definite time figure that when it began, maybe like 6-7 centuries, but it's a walk that starts from Saein Sharif right after the Urs of Lal Shahbaz Qalandar. So people start leaving from the third day of the Urs. Now it depends on the pace of the group or like how they want to stretch it. The journey can take about 10 to 14 days. We did it in 14 days with stops. So we depart from Saein Sharif, cross the Keithar Range mountains, and then the journey ends at Shah Nurani Shrine in Balochistan. So it's more or less about like 150 kilometers.
180, I thought.
150, 160 somehow, like we don't have the exact figure, but it's
Long enough.
Long enough. Long enough through dry mountains, deserts, and harsh climate.
Right, and so obviously the dates of the Urs kind of shift with every passing Greek year.
Yeah.
So this time, what Angrezi months were you traveling through?
Angrezi months.
We did this journey in 2021, and it was in April.
Yes.
And this year probably it's gonna start from the third week of March.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And how many people were there with you on this
Haya,
walk?
we're going to see all this.
Yes, of course we are. We are definitely.
Or do you want to reveal everything? I'm thinking we could just start. And then,
Definitely.
And
Let's
then
do it.
I don't want to.
And then we're going to pause when you show us the photographs,
exactly.
and then we're going to
because
catch you. in your
otherwise
tracks.
I might repeat myself. And Piru
Sure,
can join.
sure.
No? Are we
Yeah,
good?
yeah.
I want to just start with some images.
Do
so
it.
People
Go for
don't
it.
fall asleep.
Go for it.
Are you still awake, everybody?
They are actually. I mean, they're doing a good job of pretending at least. I don't know.
There's about 100 images. 80 images.
All right.
So I'll set a little bit the beginning on how I got to Saein Sharif
sure.
initially, and then we can go into the detail of the month and all the struggle. Because you're talking about the Kirtar Mountains, and I have pictures after. So this is in 2007 when I went on assignment in Saein Sharif to photograph the Urs, the death anniversary of Lal Shahbaz Qalandar. Am I saying it right?
Yeah.
Piru, you stop me anytime I say something silly. And it was a very overwhelming experience. This is during the Urs, the 3-day celebration. And very confusing as a photographer who usually works in more intimate, quiet setting. You know, coming from the mountains, going here was a bit of a shock. I did get some pictures during Damal in the evening. I did get some images, but I was not really happy with the images I got. But one thing that really left an imprint in my mind was meeting these Malangs, they call themselves Nanga Babas, right?
Yeah.
Am I right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do they call themselves, sorry?
Nanga Babas.
Okay.
Right?
Nanga Babas.
Naked Babas, although they're not naked, but they do often wear like sleeveless shirt and, you know, maybe reveal more skin than the average Malang. So many things like moved me during that celebration. But yes, spending time with the Nanga Babas, these are Nanga Babas from Punjab. I was quite taken looking at them and confused on what is going on here. And so this is 2007, and I couldn't really find out more about who they are, you know, but they did mention that they were about to go on a walk. And they pointed, I remember very well, we were on a place called Lalbagh on the edge of Saein Sharif, and they pointed to a direction and saying, we're going over these mountains for 2 weeks on foot. And I was like, what? And I'm really someone that loves doing walking stories. I love what it makes to your head when you're walking. But in 2007 also was a tricky time to go walk across Balochistan, apparently. But I remember back then they say for safety reasons, maybe you shouldn't come.
Up na jaye.
But it did leave an impression in my mind. And then fast forward 11 years, 2018, with Piru going to Hinglaj, and just me remembering the region and remembering these people that I had met, wondering about this walk again and what it is. And then I reached out maybe to Piru, or like I really asked around and to find out who they were and what they were doing. Then I came back in 2018 for Hinglaj, and I also did a story for Time magazine on issues around heat, and I went to Jacobabad, central Pakistan, which is the hottest city in Pakistan, supposedly, and we had 50, 55 degrees. And going through there, I met another, stopping in Saein Sharif, Ananga Malang on the way. And this is like, okay, this is like the universe is sending me signs or something. Yeah. I need to find out more. This is in the back of Saein Sharif.
So it's a 10-year difference between the first interaction.
Yeah, 11 years. Well, before I actually did the Lahooti walk was in 2021. So, yeah, that's 14 years that happened between the time where I saw people and I heard about it, and I kind of forgot about it until the moment where I am back now. This is in 2000. This is one of the many selfies I have to indulge in. This is fast forward 14 years. I'm in Lalbagh. Have you been to Lalbagh?
I have not been to Lalbagh.
Okay, it's a bagh, it's a garden on the edge of Saein, where most pilgrims that can't afford a hotel or whatever, or want to really live the experience of being as close as possible to the shrine as possible, as they can, they sleep in Lalbagh. So I knew I could find the Nanga Babas possibly in the Lalbagh, in this garden. And so I went back and I did find them again. So that's 2021, 14 years. The Urs just finished. So the celebration just finished, and at the end of the Urs, this is when the walk starts. Right. And also my photography changed tremendously in 14 years. Yes. Yeah, you know, I would not have taken these kind of pictures 14 years earlier.
I want to pause you here first, and before we even talk about how your photography evolved, talk a little bit about the first time you went to Saein, and you said that I mean, it was tricky for you, and I remember talking to you earlier on, you said that you weren't really like happy with the pictures that you took, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's very important to not just talk about the brilliant successes, but also like the failures that we all have in our work. When you know that you're not getting your kind of photographs in a moment, what is your natural response usually? Is it panic? Is it imposter syndrome sitting in? Like how do like what
When I
happens?
know I'm not getting my kind of picture,
Yeah, like when you
I don't take any picture.
Oh really?
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
There's no need.
I
Or
see.
I might take it, but they're like filler images, meaning people see I'm taking pictures, and I know this is not good, this is crap, this is not good, this
Yeah.
is not good, but they understand that I'm taking pictures. Oh,
Right.
this guy is for real. He's actually taking more, and he's taking more.
Uh-huh.
Photography is, to me, the only thing that attracts me in photography, the one thing that really attracts me in photography. I mean, there's a sensory level of being immersed with people that are very different from my background, but I feel the commonality that we have, and I strive on that. That's one thing. But there's also the psychology is really what attracts me in photography. That's what is happening in people's mind, and how you can blur the lines of confusion. And I've become my tool. I've learned to speak Urdu. I've learned enough behavior and things to really, of course. People are full of stereotypes. I am, and they are. And they see me a white guy, a Gora, they're like, oh, this Gora guy, come over here. And I'm like,
one of
within
those.
seconds, I can break that and blur the line. And this creates a very wonderful and very loving environment. Very much like, I thought that, but look at you. And I'm like, well, I thought that of you, but look at you. Me with my stereotype coming to Pakistan. At first, I have some deep-set dark eyes with a big beard, and Shahrukh coming to I'm like, he's gonna cut my throat. But he's like, oh, my brother, So I'm full of it. So it's an amazing experience to be able to break stereotypes between, and it's a back and forth. It's towards you, but it's me vice versa.
It's two-way, and it's so important to talk about it, Matthieu, because I mean, as is you. I mean, nothing can take away from the fact that you are a Gora and will remain one, right? So like as much as you try to
Sometimes
hide
he's
that-
confused for a Pathan.
Yeah,
A lot of times.
but that shit can't fly in Sindh, though, right?
I'm Afridi, actually. You don't know.
Okay, for sure. Or exactly. So I think, I mean, it's also really important to talk about those stereotypes because, I mean, obviously, like, people can judge you for your appearance. I think, I mean, in these days, in the world of photography, there is so much conversation about, privilege and people coming into these countries and photographing. So I'm glad that you're talking about it, and you're also talking about the stereotypes that you or other people coming outside, like from outside of Pakistan, may have. The usual long bearded men, turban men staring like right into the camera.
Yes.
Like we have all consumed enough of those photographs to be sick of it by now, to be honest. Talk a little also. All right, so you're saying that, I'm also trying to ask this question because I see a lot of school students actually who might go into photography. When you're on assignment, right, you've been sent like by a magazine, right?
Yes.
And you have to take photographs in a given number of days, and you're not getting the photographs that you want.
Yes.
What happens then? What's your coping mechanism?
I'm getting the pictures. What are you talking about? That's why I do a living. No, I have to be able to get images, and I will. I know now. When I started, it was different. If you want to backtrack 20 years ago, 15 years ago, when I was getting my first assignment, and especially at the beginning, you try as a photographer to take single beautiful images.
Okay.
Now I can do that, but within a storytelling settings.
Right.
All these images feed into each other, into one theme, into something that is the story, that is my guiding light, my guiding thread into the story. And I always have that in the back of my mind. I mean, I do go through doubt, a lot of doubts. And this is very healthy, Back in the days when I didn't have digital camera, because I shot for about 8 years, been a photographer for 22 years now, and the first 8 years of my life, I never saw any pictures after I took pictures of. There was no back mirror, right?
Yeah.
And that's a really good school, because you're in permanent doubt of knowing if you have it or if you don't.
Right.
So you work harder.
Right.
I think I have it, I might not. Let's do more, let's do more.
Right.
Nowadays, a lot of photographers can see and be like, oh, I got the shot, move on to the next stuff. You get the shot, but if you would stick around, you might get something, the 0.2 version of it, and a stronger setting. And, but yes, the one thing where I feel, before I go, there's a lot of personal interior dialogue with myself on how I'm going to make it visually, dreaming big, and then this is kind of what I'm trying to achieve when I'm in the field. But yeah, nowadays I'm lucky not to really have much doubt anymore about,
That's great,
you know,
No, but it's actually really meaningful to know about your process, because I mean, you know, the thing is that we are all overwhelmed by the amount and the high quality of like images that we see every day, and it can be very overwhelming very quickly for someone who's just trying to get into photography, that you know, like you almost feel like you'll never be able to match the match the level of the photographs of ustads that we look up to, right? So it can be very overwhelming. So thank you for sharing that doubt is essential, and
it's
healthy.
far from just being aesthetic. I don't want to just take good pictures.
Absolutely.
I want to know the name of each like I can tell you the name of each person in the picture. I might have to look at my notes, but I have the name, and I understand where they're coming from, why they're dressed like that, which shrine they belong to. This is 100% part of my work, not just taking pretty pictures. And on social media, there's a lot of beautiful pictures of a sunset saying, you know, what an amazing sunset. I'm like, come on, you can do more than that. Bring us information, bring us something else that elevates the image and not just equate it. Yeah, I can see that it's sunset, give me something more. What went in your brain when you were there, or on a personal level, or you know, not even involving yourself, just strictly focusing on what in the image.
And you were talking about your work and your style of photography evolving since the first time you came and then later on. How has it evolved? What has changed? What has stayed constant? Tell us about it.
My curiosity, that's the number one factor I think that you need to have as a photographer, is being incredibly curious about everything and questioning everything and not take any answer necessarily for granted. I also get fed answers that people think I want to hear. You know what I mean? You know what? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm going to be told, like, I think we should tell him that will make him happy. Out of kindness and wanting to be nice, I'm going to be sometimes told stuff that is just to kind of make me feel comfortable. But that's not necessary.
And you know that, right?
And I feel it now. Yeah, I feel it. It's something you need to feel and be like, yeah, but how do you mean? Do you mean it like this and like that? And then you get to really the core of the truth, which can be a lot more meaningful than what you were told, you know?
Right.
So yeah, there's a lot of research.
I think we'd love to see some more photographs.
Okay, sorry, yeah. So, well, so before that, I was showing you some portraits I did around Saein, and now we are starting the walk. So this is the beginning. This is a couple of days out of Saein Sharif, starting to walk across. And you can see these are the Kirtar Mountains in the back, right, Piru?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the beginning where we have to go. And so, yeah, the heat is a big issue that all pilgrims have to deal with. It's incredibly hot. We're talking 40, 45, 50 degrees with very little water. You can see he's carrying, this is a classic pilgrim's, Lahooti's, basically he's carrying any equipment that most pilgrims will carry. A small backpack with maybe something to roll on the ground and maybe some chai and sugar or whatever. And then the bottle of water that is wrapped in cloth, so they can dip it in water and it stays cool when you're walking. And then, you know, double cover, the umbrella and the hat, because it's crazy hot. So we decided to, on the walk, I was also doing a short film. We were doing a short film that will be screened tonight here at 8:40, so if anybody wants to see it. And so because of that, and you would know that, Haya, it's important to stick to a person or a group. As opposed to maybe being a photographer where you can fly around a lot more, you need that continuity in filming. So we decided to walk with this man Kismat, that's him here on the left, and on the right is Haji Baba.
Haji Baba, yeah.
Yeah, Haji Baba. Piru's best friend.
My chai buddy.
Yeah.
Oh, sweet.
I'll show you a little video at the end from Piru where we can see Haji Baba on his walk. And so yeah, so we stuck with this gang of brothers, kind of. And it's important because also this is one thing to get access, but getting accepted, the level of acceptance you will develop through days and days allow you to be really doing better work and deeper work as a photographer. So even though I was moving around sometime, and you saw the pictures of different pilgrims before, because I want to produce like a greater portfolio of all the characters and people I could meet there, we still stuck around. One more thing that I was personally keeping in mind is for me, when I think of pilgrimage all over the world, right now, these Lahootis are following a certain path, and this path follows water because you depend on water for survival there.
Right.
And so I wanted to really pay attention to the bodies of water also as, to me, holy places almost that connects to the sacredness of the landscape that we go through. And I think that links to the fact that these people are pilgrims on this specific route.
Right.
So really finding moments that connects people with water. So in the images that I'm showing, that might interest you, there are, and that might be a question that people would have, how much do you set things up? There are things that are set up.
Okay.
But they are done in a way that I'm not directing the person. I'm agreeing that, what do you think if we would do that?
Okay.
This is the case. So he was washing, but I wanted really this feeling of abandonment in the images and of kind of letting go, because I felt this was really a specificity of the pilgrims, this softness, this kindness that they had. So I was always trying, this was also guiding me in terms of portraiture, trying to do that. So this is the case. There's a lot of images I showed you where it just happens, but there's other images, and I like to, again, blur the line between what is set up and what is just natural.
What is happening anyway? Yeah.
So these are like this is a complete collaboration.
Right.
I find this man and I say, and I was sitting in the water myself. So I take away my kameez, I have the shalwa, I sit in water with everybody. The water is like 40 degrees, by the way. It's 50 degrees outside. You're like thinking,
10 degree difference.
You think you're gonna get cold, and it's like so we sat there, and he's like, but hold on, I have my goat there, let me grab it. And the goat gets the goat, and then not only hold it, but also started dipping it in water and taking it out. All this happens naturally, and that's really what is one thing that I love with.
And in some ways, would you say that these are also like some of the unsaid rules, like of collaboration, right? Like you must feel really comfortable, and like both parties would be feeling extremely comfortable with each other for that negotiation to even take place. And how about you did this? And do they also say no sometimes? I'm very curious.
Yeah. And I'm very convincing. So I will get over that now.
90% of the times he's convincing.
Oh,
like he has his way because he speaks Urdu.
I don't threaten anyone.
He's a Gora and he speaks Urdu, so he knows how to.
But I kind of love that the 10% don't get convinced also. Right?
Yeah.
Stick to their ground.
Yes. It's good. I need that.
Totally.
Exactly. So I don't mind it, but I really have ways to. You have to charm your way into doing things, and sometimes people might not necessarily get it. I can also put myself in situation where it's going to be a little bit borderline. If maybe not you, but if other foreigners see me behaving, they think he's so rude.
Okay.
Because you know how things can be very light in Pakistan, and the way you address things, and yes. Sure. So I can be on the borderline of being a little bit too hard, but if pushy, But if I'll do that, I will make sure that when things are finished, I'm going to leave a good impression. So I'm going to go back. I'm going to talk to the person and wrap these things in a lighter and a positive way. Yeah, for sure.
And what pushes you to push people?
Because I have the vision of the image, and I want it.
Okay.
Because I think it's meaningful, and there is a reason for me to do it. Yeah. So these are a series of portraits really focused on the. These are transgenders,
Right.
which are really popular. You see them a lot
On the
in
journey.
Saein, and also in during the Urs, and also
Right.
during the journey.
And are there also, so they're trans women and they're
Mhm.
men.
Yeah.
Are there women on the journey as well?
Yes,
Or
there are
have you-
few, but the year we went in 2021 was right after COVID, and there were not many people. There are families. Usually, women. It's not an. It's a very intimate. It's a very intimate setting. I mean, where people sleep out. You'll see later out under the stars together, and it's not necessarily very attractive to women to be in this situation where you can't really wash properly. It's a bit of a difficult. But there are. I would say what. 10, 15, 20%.
They're always in families, yeah.
Yeah,
They're always in
they're
With
always in
families,
families, yeah.
With families and yeah. And how many people, like so on this walk, how many people were there approximately?
That year, I mean, average there is about, I like it would be impossible to.
probably
I mean,
in
it's a wild
Like
guess.
thousands?
Thousands.
Okay,
Because it's not
Yeah.
necessarily that everyone's doing it on the same dates.
perfect. All
Yeah.
right.
Mhm.
Okay, makes sense.
So you would find big groups like this, like they are sitting
Right.
under this
And
tree
there are
just
women
before
in-
going
in
over
the
a
group.
pass through the mountains.
I see.
We would find mazars along the way.
Uh-huh.
They're not really mazars. Yeah, you wouldn't call them mazar. What are they? Ziyarat? What are they?
Small zarats or alams,
Right.
Yeah,
so
alams,
they're
yeah.
paying homages.
So it can be often that pilgrims have died there because pilgrims often have died
Yes,
over the years on this journey.
And we get to know a little bit about them in the film that screens
Yeah,
tonight.
yeah,
so,
yeah, exactly,
So that's
yeah.
awesome.
This is the way over the Kirtar Mountains. We're going over the pass there.
Uh-huh.
And we sleep next to, this is the barrage, a dam.
Right. And also, Matthew, sorry, we also we'll open the floor for questions very, very soon. I mean, we're looking at these photographs. Honestly, man, you make it look a little bit too easy. Okay.
Okay.
So, are you dying in the process of taking these photographs?
Yes.
Like, what's
I'm
happening
dying.
inside you?
Look, I
and-
got my hair. मेरा बाल सफेद हो गया यहाँ पाकिस्तान में.
Okay, okay. So,
No,
how challenging is it? Because again, I think when we look at meaningful and beautiful imagery, we feel like ये तो बस हो सकता है, like,
जी, जी, नहीं,
right?
हो सकते
So
नहीं.
जरा बताएं कि how challenging is it? Like, what,
It is
yeah.
very challenging.
Yeah.
I mean, because there are so many factors in destroying a situation that is beautiful.
Sorry,
And there are so many challenges in, avoiding a beautiful situation to be destroyed. You know what I mean? Do you understand what I mean? If I'll enter, beauty can be so fragile in a sense that there is something beautiful that happens and you come in and the way you look and you start looking at that beautiful situation, the person looks back at you and they can see in your eye you're being impressed and they're going to prop themselves on and be like, yeah, and boom, that's it, that's gone.
yeah, yeah.
So you have to be you're walking on eggs. You have to be so careful.
Yeah.
If you see something beautiful, do I engage? Do I not engage? When am I going to break that beauty that is happening there in that corner? And so yes, it is challenging. It's very challenging,
Yeah, yeah.
And yes, you might look through it and think it's easy,
Yeah.
but that's not easy.
Right.
It's very fragile. I describe it as fragile. This is really something.
I would like to add, the pictures look good, but the backstory is that one day, we crossed a mountain, and Sebastian and Matthieu, they had their shirts open, and they were passed out on the rocks, turned red, and completely dehydrated because of the temperatures.
Yeah.
And we had already walked, we used to start walking at sunrise till maybe 9 a.m. because by 9 a.m. it was unbearable.
Right.
So these are the situations that we used to face daily,
Right.
the harsh climate. So it's physically really challenging,
Right.
and that's what goes behind these amazing photos Matthieu has taken.
And what's your role in all of this when these people are just getting dehydrated? Piru, what's your?
There he is. There is Piru.
There he is having a very thoughtful moment. He's just like, where am I?
This is when I was waiting for food so that we can have it all together. So I was also taking care of them, and at the end of the day, also communicating, because I could speak Sindhi. A lot of people involved in the walk are Sindhi, so I would help them with the translation as well, and then arranging food and like sleeping at the end of the day and helping them, assisting them in any way. So that was my job, and keeping them motivated, of course.
Right, right, yeah, keeping motivated. I want to, can we go back to the previous photograph?
This one, yes.
I'm going to ask you one question, and meanwhile, if the mic can go to anyone who wants to ask a question, please go ahead. Please raise your hands, and the mic will reach you. Matthieu, you were talking about the challenges. You're talking about, you know, how beauty is fragile. These moments are fragile. They can be ruined in an instant. They can just disappear in an instant, right?
Yes.
And then there comes this question of where you place yourself versus where you place your camera in this huge expanse. I mean, and here you have everyone's equidistant from each other.
Yes.
It's an intersection.
Yes, well, this is
So
composition.
much
Yeah, of course.
How does one work on it?
Well, if the guy, I mean, I can go into the details of images, but if the guy is not here right at the intersection, the image is failed. For me, it's very, that's the fragility. One foot forward, one foot back. This is the, like, you need to create this kind of fragile balance. And so this, by you know, like how they are equidistant from each other. I mean, I could go on and on about little details like that. And this I see, and I can tell you also the failures, like why is the mountain coming up on top of the shoulder? Actually, I mean, you know, no, I like that picture very much, but you know, like I like, and that also. Here we are in the cemetery, you know, these are all tombs from the pilgrims. So there's layers in the images. He's a kabutar, a pigeon that was taken on the walk, and he therefore is a Lahooti pigeon. He's also being blessed by the walk. And this is the Raja, who is from, he's near north of Hyderabad. Do you remember?
Mirpur Khas. He is from Mirpur Khas.
Yeah. We did walk with him quite some time. But there's also these moments there that I love also, and this is not necessarily, you need to have that filter on in your brain for these kind of moments. This is not necessarily something you will turn your camera to, but for me, this is very important. These two images side by side, for example, seen side by side, create that feeling of lightness
and as you said, it's also about creating like an entire story across a palette of photographs instead of just like taking one beautiful image or one meaningful image.
But I've been at the hard school in a sense that when editors at National Geographic look through my work, they will point out to an amazing, like what I think is, wow, I really struggle there. And they will point to all the detail that makes it fail. So, you know, this is and also, you might see images that you think are great because you struggle to take them. But they are actually not good. Exactly. And the ones where you didn't struggle, that were easy to take, you don't consider them to be good. But that's why you need somebody else to be looking at your image.
At them, definitely.
And you find characters like Haider, who is in charge of. In Islamabad, in which you know there's a mazar.
Bari Imam
in
Islamabad.
In charge of Bari Imam.
He's in charge. Who is a wannabe superheroes. Like you can connect with him in a sense that he wants to eat the camera. He loves it, you know. And so, but how like to refrain himself and be more natural. And he would just like but this he's doing by himself. He's like, go ahead, you know. He can totally. So. You have this type of character that you can connect with that you know will make your life easier in a sense where they want to collaborate.
For sure. Matthieu, we must go for questions.
Okay, let's go. We can go for questions while I show some more images.
Questions, please. If you don't have questions, I'll keep asking my own. So.
No questions? It's all clear to you?
They're just mesmerized by the
It's still a mystery to me.
Matthieu.
Huh?
They're just mesmerized by the photographs.
Hello, Matthieu.
Okay, yes.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good, how are you?
Good.
I'm just want to ask you, this is a religious or like a spiritual journey.
Yes.
So how does it hit you?
How did it hit me?
Like spiritually.
Oh, wow, I love that question. Yeah, how did it hit me?
I'm glad it happened.
Yes. Great question. Yeah, that the way it hit me is the reason why I went through the hurdle and the yeah, it hit me in a way I would say that was well the guiding word amongst pilgrims, among everything, when you're walking with Lahootis, is mohabbat, piyar, ishq, all these feelings of devotion. But to me, also, they are not necessarily anchored in the tradition of Sufism or in Islam or whatever. For me, they are just really universal. They're just this very deep feeling of connection with the environment, with each other. And it's just unique, and I strive on it, and I miss it dearly. Like now, this is something that it's like oxygen, right? So yeah, spiritually, it's a very moving and very exhilarating experience. And yeah, I'm glad you asked the question. It's actually key to this. Yeah.
The purpose of the journey, as you said.
So. Could you tell us what Lahooti means? And is anybody who goes on a pilgrimage, on this particular pilgrimage, a Lahooti, or do you have to be a particular kind of worshipper to go on this?
Yeah, if you've done the walk, you're Lahooti, but Piru can explain.
The end destination is basically a place called, it's a big cave in the mountains called Lahoot La Makan. So whoever finishes this journey, they've given the title of Lahooti. So you have to, when you're doing it for the first time, you have to go inside the cave. It's a really narrow crack that you have to go inside, and it has a lot of myths and folk tales dating back till the era of Hazrat Ali. So it's spiritually really important to all the faqirs and Sufi dervishes that go there. So to be a Lahooti, you have to walk 2 weeks, go through the crack into the Lahoot La Makan and come back return enlightened. That's when you become a Lahooti. Yeah.
More questions? We have 5 minutes. We can totally utilize them to the full potential.
Yeah, one.
We don't hear you.
We can't hear you. Yes, I think now we will.
Images are really nice. Thank you. Work with us. Lahooti Mela that you're covering, how old it is, and have you seen it becoming transformed over time?
Sorry, I didn't get the question.
We were just, you wanted to know how old the pilgrimage is?
Yes, how old is this, and
Nobody
how
knows.
long has it been
Apparently
going on?
nobody knows. I just found out last night.
Apparently nobody knows.
Because it's also a question.
Yeah.
It's old.
It is a few centuries old, but we can't tell. Some stories date back even beyond 700 years.
Okay. Do you get a sense that it's been changing over time in its nature?
You've been there.
See, I've been recently for 2 times, but my family, my cousins have been doing it since years. So what they tell me is that there are more. It has become a bit easier in terms of the infrastructure and the facilities and all the issues that come along during the walk. So the only change is that the people have been increasing. The number of people every year has been increasing. Just during the COVID times, it was that was 1 year it didn't happen.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
And Matthieu, you might want to talk a little bit about, obviously we can't expect you to do a comparison between the past and the present, but talk a little bit about the environmental damage that you were mentioning.
Oh, yes. Well,
you want to mention that?
Yeah, when you arrive in Nurani or along the way, actually, there's really issues of pollution because mainly there's no way to. This is a classic camp at night where all the pilgrims are sleeping out. Unfortunately, not necessarily the pilgrims on the way, but when you arrive in Nurani and you walk 2 weeks across the desert to go to this incredible place in a valley where there is a huge springs with palm trees, I'm thinking back, of course it's a shrine and of course it's a holy place. Yeah. It must have been such a miracle to walk from across the desert of Balochistan and Sindh and arrive in this place of abundance. But of course right now, what do you expect? All those pilgrims coming, visiting from cities or wherever, and no system really of garbage disposal. Is just the river, this holy water that comes out of is just a trash filled riverside as you approach Nurani. So that was quite heartbreaking, and I was not surprised. I mean, this is what, if there is no way to clear garbage, that's what you have to face.
I mean, people will embark on the journey, and then there will be some people who will like not be respecting the place, and that kind of goes hand in hand almost.
Right.
A last question is really what we can manage at this point. Yes.
Hello, Matthieu.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm great. How are you? Man,
Fine,
you sound,
fine. What about
you?
you?
Sound in good shape.
I have a question. Photographers makes nature or nature makes photographer?
What?
Do photographers make nature, or does nature make photographers?
Nature makes photography. Yeah. Well, you can interpret it, and you can have your filter in your mind of what you want to express with the natures that surrounds you. But ultimately, that's what you're given. You have to deal with what you're given. So.
What you felt during the photographic nature?
Sorry, say that again.
What you feel during the photographer nature?
I'm very excited. I'm very excited. Usually, yeah. I'm very tuned. I try to. Yeah.
Thank you.
Welcome. Thank you.
Thank
Hello,
you.
Matthieu. Hope you are doing glooming and advancing. If you are asked to conclude that whole journey, then how will you conclude the journey?
How will you continue the journey?
As a photographer?
Yes.
I don't know. I go through ups and downs, to be truthful. You know, you go through periods of doubts and think, how can you make a living? I never had a salary. I always was in a freelance life, and so it can be challenging, but somehow it always comes back. And if I think if I would stop being curious, then I would stop living of this job.
And talking about this journey, do you plan to go back on it again, the Lahooti one?
I don't know. I don't know any of these things.
Oh.
You know, I thought I was coming to Pakistan for the last time, maybe 10 years ago. It's never ending, I guess.
And you keep coming back.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much, everyone,
Thank
for
you.
being a wonderful audience. Thank you, Matthieu. Thank you.
Oh,
Piru.
I want to show the video. It's just 30 seconds. Unfortunately, we might have. I only have the sound for my.
Should we?
Oh yeah, bring the mic. Yeah, you're smart.
Yeah.
So this is a little video from Piru.
This is a video made by Piru. Yeah, Piru, you want to introduce the video while we?
It's a short reel that I made dedicated to Haji Baba, one of the characters
Your
that
best
we worked
friend.
with. Yeah,
Your
my
best
friend
friend.
basically.
So this was the soundtrack.
I don't know if you were able to hear it, but he was talking about preparing Mohabbat Wali or Ishq Wali chai, which is, I mean, just the concept sounds magnificent. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Matthieu. Thank you, Piru. Thank you so much for
Thank you very
everything
much.
that
Thank you so much
do.
for having
Thank
us.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you,
See
yeah,
ya.
and Matthieu and Piru for such.